And then boom, boom, boom. And you start starting to handle these big guns. I'm like, okay, this is something's going on.
I was in the Uber, I heard boom, boom, twice.
I saw police cars going left and right, even behind me. I saw a helicopter above me. I saw, I would say, 5 or 6 ambulances within 2 to 3 minutes of the shooting.
Just a horrific night in Washington, D.C. As we speak, 2 National Guard soldiers ambushed in a targeted shooting are hospitalized in critical condition. Both are from West Virginia. The suspect was just identified and is in custody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Scott Thuman, and just into our newsroom, one of the soldiers has now been identified as Andrew Wolf. His high school posted this message on social media saying, quote, "Our Applemen community is deeply saddened. Andrew is currently in critical condition and undergoing surgery." The shooting happening just blocks away from the White House on the eve of Thanksgiving. We have some new video showing the chaotic moments right afterward. Just take a listen. All right, as you just saw there, traffic along the National Mall at a standstill this afternoon as a U.S. Park Police helicopter took off from the Washington Monument, rushing one of those soldiers to a hospital. And just moments beforehand, this dramatic scene playing out on a sidewalk. We have blurred out the guard member lying on the ground, but in this video, you can clearly see other law enforcement immediately giving CPR to keep them alive. This was right next to a bus stop, a bullet shattering that window. President Trump reacting on camera now for the first time.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity.
All right, again, this shooting was right near the White House at 17th and I Streets in Northwest, and also close by Farragut and Lafayette Squares, as well as the Smithsonian's Renwick Gallery, not to mention numerous hotels and restaurants in that area, densely packed with people for the holiday. All afternoon, 7 News on Your Side has brought you extensive live team coverage, and that continues right now at 11 o'clock. Tom Rousey is at the alert desk with those new details on the suspect, and Rebecca Turco is at the hospital where both soldiers are being treated. But first, let's start with Christian Flores. Christian, we just learned that fellow National Guard members on the scene shot back at the suspect. You were our first reporter on this scene, which is still very busy at this late hour, so take us through what happened today.
Well, as you can imagine, the law enforcement response earlier this afternoon, absolutely massive. And several hours later, that really still is the case. This whole area is still cordoned off, and we're now seeing a fire truck arrive to the scene. You still see some investigators out here, obviously picking up some evidence, really taking a look and trying to make sure they're not missing anything for this investigation. And just a few blocks from the White House, near the east entrance to Farragut West Metro stop, National Guard, MPD, Metro PD, Secret Service, Park Police, all those agencies and more responding to this terrible act of violence here. They're blocking off several city blocks around the scene to preserve any potential evidence. And here's what we know now about the sequence of events leading up to this shooting. According to detectives, a man just walked around the corner, raised his arm, and shot at the National Guard troops. He hit 2 of them, a man and a woman. Both are fighting for their lives in the hospital with critical injuries. Other troops and D.C. police officers were nearby and managed to quickly subdue the suspect. He was shot, but we do not know who shot him or if he even shot himself. Hours after the attack, FBI Director Kash Patel, Mayor Muriel Bowser, and MPD's Executive Assistant Chief briefed us on what happened at about 2:15 this afternoon after the suspect turned the corner and approached the Guard members.
We have no other suspects. We have reviewed video from the area. It appears, like I said, to be a lone gunman that raised a firearm and ambushed these members of the National Guard, and he was quickly taken into custody by other National Guard members and law enforcement members.
The reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today. There was not any further injury and any further shootings.
We join with the FBI Director in ensuring that MPD investigates, the U.S. Attorney prosecutes this case to the fullest extent of the law.
And we do want to make note that earlier this evening we saw tow trucks bring in some floodlights out here so detectives could more effectively take a look at the scene. I mentioned the fire truck earlier, and in my experience covering crime scenes here in D.C., typically they bring the fire trucks in to clean and clear the scene. So it does appear that we're getting closer to maybe this whole area opening up sometime, maybe between now and the morning. Scott?
Yeah, Christian, you've been at that scene for about 8 hours now. In that time, you've also been able to speak to some people who witnessed the crime as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, obviously around 2 o'clock on the afternoon before Thanksgiving, you're not going to see as much vehicle traffic around here. A lot of people are going to be hitting the highways to get to their Thanksgiving plans. But there certainly were still a lot of people out here on foot. We saw so many onlookers. Keep in mind, we're just on the other side of the White House. Now, the White House is obviously going to be a top tourist destination for anyone visiting D.C., and not to mention there are a lot of restaurants out here. We spoke to a witness who was inside one of those restaurants when this all happened.
Many people were walking down saying service members were just shot, National Guardsmen, so there was a concern. Our restaurant was put on lockdown. When they say active shooter, you think of the same things with high schools and elementary schools, that when that happens, you have to be concerned about who's out there. Not since the Oklahoma bombing have I seen a heightened sense of security, and then with 9/11. This is pretty much equal to that level.
Absolutely terrifying moments, and I can attest this is one of the larger crime scenes I've ever been to. Obviously, we're going to keep our eye out for any developments out here on scene, and we'll be sure to keep you updated. Reporting live in Northwest D.C., Christian Flores, 7 News.
All right, Christian on the scene now. Let's check in with Rebecca Turco. She's outside MedStar Washington Hospital in Northwest. And Rebecca, we know both soldiers arrived there in critical condition. Do we have any update at this hour on how they're doing?
No updates as of yet. We have seen Guard members come and go here really for several hours now, offering up their support as they wait to learn more. National Guard members wait at MedStar Washington as 2 of their own remain in critical condition. The hospital is a level 1 trauma center, the highest trauma designation to treat complex injuries. A D.C. official tells me the suspect who was shot is being treated over at GW Hospital, another level 1 trauma center. For several hours, we saw police coming and going there, on watch and on standby, from MPD to Secret Service. The injured Guard members are from West Virginia. The governor there initially announced this afternoon that they had died, then doubled back 20 minutes later, saying he received conflicting reports. The state's attorney general says he is enraged by this violence. He says there's 160 service members working over the holiday on the president's ongoing mission.
We have a long history of men and women willing to stand up for our country and serve our country. And so what this perpetrator needs to understand is that he has attacked 2 of the bravest people in this country that come from the bravest state in this country.
And again, the last update we've received is that those Guard members are in critical condition tonight. As for the suspect singular rather, officials have said that they believe his injuries are not life-threatening. Live from the hospital, Rebecca Turco, 7 News.
All right, so now let's focus on the suspect, who he is and what's his background. The Associated Press and multiple networks identifying him as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakanwal. The Department of Homeland Security saying he's an Afghan national who entered the U.S. back in September of 2021. They say he came to the States as part of a program called Operation Allies Welcome. Tom Rousey will explain a lot more on what that is coming up in just a minute. But new tonight, President Trump is calling for a reinvestigation of all Afghans who entered the country under that program.
Of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know. Such a
sources, police ran the fingerprints of the man in custody, and that is how they got his name. Indications are he lived in Washington State. We have a crew out of Seattle tracking down more information right now, and we'll bring you that as soon as we do learn more. All right, now let's get to Tom with a breakdown on what that program, Operation Allies Welcome, is. Tom.
And Scott, its description on the Department of Homeland Security website says archived content. That's because it was put into effect under the Biden administration back in 2021. It was started as U.S. troops withdrew from Afghanistan, and its goal was to, quote, to help, quote, vulnerable Afghans settle in the U.S. Now, some of those Afghans had helped the U.S. military, but not all of them. You may remember a lot of people from Afghanistan came to our area through Dulles Airport at the time, and eventually the National Conference Center in Loudoun County temporarily housed many of the people from Afghanistan who came to this area. The Department of Homeland Security said at the time it was screening and vetting the Afghans before they came to the United States. However, as of tonight, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, they say that effective immediately, they will no longer process immigration requests from Afghans for an indefinite period of time. USCIS says before processing any more requests, it wants to review security and vetting protocols. Scott.
All right, a lot of quick reactions there, Tom. The shooting happening, of course, amidst crowds of people, and tonight we're hearing from more witnesses.
I was in the Uber, I heard boom, boom, twice. I was looking at my cell phone, and the Uber driver said, "Why are all these people running?" So then I looked out the window, and it was little children. They looked probably about 5 years old on both sides of the street running, and adults. And whoever was supervising the children said, "Go, run."
One National Guard was lying on his side. And then I looked at the other National Guard member that was down, and I saw compressions going on.
There was countless personnel around him, and they put him in a truck, and a minute later they were gone.
Now, earlier this evening, we spoke to a professor at George Washington University about the tone and temperature in D.C. when it comes to politics in the wake of this violent attack.
I think the temperature in the city itself, and I live here, I think it is more fraught, and it has been generally more fraught. You know, I see reports, for example, of ICE raids and National Guard troops on my campus, on the George Washington University campus. I think that there's a fear, especially among more vulnerable populations in Washington. I think if we step back as well, it's important to note that if this indeed was a targeted shooting, if it was an act of politically motivated violence, I think, it's another kind of terrible moment in just an ongoing series of moments, right?
We will continue to bring you any new developments in this newscast and on our website, WJLA.com. Just take out your phone. You can scan the QR code on your screen. That will take you to our homepage, where our digital team is working hard to keep you up to date. Our coverage continues early tomorrow morning, starting at 4:30.